We're back on the AM show, and this is the AM Talk. I promised you quite some interesting issues to talk about this morning. We've had all the issues in the newspapers, the headlines, but what are the stories making what are the big stories? And we're looking at the big stories this morning because the General Secretary of the ruling National Democratic Congress, NDC, Johnson Nketia, he has dismissed claims by the flag bearer of the new patriotic party, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, that the voters register is bloated and must be changed before the 2016 general elections. And according to General Mosquito, the assertion was baseless, it lacked evidence, and forms part of a scheme to score political points. I think that I've been joined in the studio by one of my guests. I'm expecting another, but his name is Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim. He's MP for Banda from the Bunafo region, and I'll soon be joined. I'm expecting Honorable William Ejapon Kwetu. He's MP for Akemodan from the Eastern region. They'll help me discuss the big stories this morning. But we're looking at Nketia Nketiah's statement, and I crave indulgence to hold on whilst we play you a sound bite from General Mosquito.
If the intention of NPP in making this noise is to get Ghanaians to believe that the register is flawed and therefore it has to be replaced, let me tell them, even if this register would have to be compiled 100 times over with this technology, there is no way they are going to get the opportunity of bloating the register as they did before the 2008 elections, because a lot of water has gone under the bridge, and they should forget about trying to win elections that are not based on the wishes of the masses. I would advise them to go to the field to campaign, and if the masses want them, they'll vote for them. If they don't want them, they'll vote against them. But it will not happen in this country where elections would be influenced by, ghost names that are contained in any electoral register.
Okay, so we have two statements over there. One from the 2008 flag bearer of the NPP. He says that the voters register is bloated, and we've heard the General Secretary of the NDC saying that it's not bloated. Honorable Ibrahim, I'd like to ask your brief comments. I'd like you to comment briefly on these two statements.
Yeah, good morning, my dear sister, and a very good morning to our cherished viewers. Clearly speaking, I heard the interview, and as you played it back, I've also heard it clearly. And I'm wondering why somebody should be raising issues of voted register in this day and at this time. You remember that was the case before the re-registration of the biometric registration of the vote. It is the entire citizenry of the country, voters of the country, happened just after the most recent elections. So if that was the case, and then we had a thorough review of the system, and a new system and a new structure, very expensive, well participated structure in 2010 or so. I don't know why at this time that register will be claimed to be overbloated at this time. Then what it means is that at every elections, then we have to re-register, and we have to throw away the last register and have a new voters register at any time. And if you listen to the argument being put there by the flag bearer, the flag bearer of the opposition New Patriotic Party, you'll be wondering why that should be the argument. His argument was that looking at the population size of the country and the size of the voters register that we have, then one would just conclude by saying that the voters register in the country is overbloated. Clearly, I'm convinced with the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress that if that is the argument, then it means the flag bearer has no case. How can you conclude by saying that the mere fact that you have 24 or 25 million Ghanaians per the 2010 population census, and then you have 14 million voters registered in the voters register of the 2010 decision, then it means that more people are in the voters register, and because of that, it is overbloated. That clearly is baseless and unconvincing. Simply because when it comes to registration of voters, the political parties sensitize our grassroots. The National Commission on Civic Education sensitized the entire citizenry. The Electoral Commission also at the forefront. And Ghanaians are politically awakened, knowing very well that this was the exercise that was going to lead to the victory in 2012. So everybody participated. Unlike the National Population Census, where even after the entire exercise itself, some people claim that no census officer went to their houses to register them, and because of that, they were not part of it. So I was thinking that he would have said that, oh, as for the voters register, that was concrete. But for the census itself, looking at the event that happened at the time and how the whole census registration was carried on, then clearly if there's a problem, it should be with the population census, but not with the voters register. But for the mere fact that you're a politician, you don't just base it on the fact that because even there was an acclaimed faulty one somewhere, but the one that is concrete, you just conclude by saying that that one was not well done and all those kind of things. So clearly speaking, we should not go by this argument. But population census happen after every 10 years. In 2010 we had it. We are in 2014. And very soon we are going to have re-registration of limited registration before the 2016 elections. And in that, it is not just limited registration. The Electoral Commission will open up the register and will call on all Ghanaians to strike out names of those that we know that have passed away.
But I remember that in 2010, we had issues during the registration exercise that people came in who were suggested not to be Ghanaians, who are from other nearby countries, coming in and posting themselves as they're Ghanaians and trying to register and all of those issues. And then we also remember that the 2008 election petition hearing recommended for electoral reforms. And so let me take a short break. When I come back, I'll be joined by my other guest and we'll get the conversation heated. So it's still the AM Talk on the AM show this morning, and we're discussing some quite interesting topics. I've just been joined by my other guest. His name is Honorable William Ejapon Kwetu. He's MP for Achimota from the Eastern Region. Welcome, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And finally, you joined us. I thought you weren't coming.
No. Once I
What happened
promised.
to you?
Once I promised, I always deliver.
What happened to you?
I don't know. I got up late. The weather was too cold then.
Should we pardon you for that?
Yes, please do. Next time. It's been quite some time that I went for an early morning program, and so I think that is.
We'll pardon you for today.
You know,
we've been discussing the issue of Nana Akufo-Addo making the comments or calling on government or the Electoral Commission to sanitize the voters register because he feels that the old one has been bloated, and we've just had a response from the General Secretary of the NDC that that comment is baseless because for him he feels that everything is okay with the register. Why should we be calling for that at this particular moment?
Thank you so much. Let me first of all say a very good morning to all my constituents and very good new year. I am praying that they are able to withstand the shocks that we receive from the current government. I know 2015 is not going to be anything good. We can only pray to God to sustain us. Yes. You see, this question has been raised a number of times. The chairman of the Electoral Commission, Afarijan himself, was in Parliament, and this question was posed to him. And he says that whatever information is brought to him is what he works with. And that the cleaning process has been a continuous thing. He told us in Parliament that there are situations or occasions where they have to take out certain names when they check. They are toddlers as low as about 4 years, 8 years, 10 years registered. And he is not a person who brings in those information. Usually they hire people, teachers and other people to do the registration. And it's this same party bigwigs who go there, manipulate the system, and get these names registered. So if Afarijan has been in parliament to say this, and Akufo-Addo also says that he thinks that the register is bloated and should be cleaned, I think they are saying the same thing, virtually. If Asidun Gatia should say that he thinks that it is okay, I don't know where he's getting his source from. See, there was a research done, and we had the research results. I didn't know we were going to discuss this thing. I would have probably looked at all those figures and brought them here. That person mentioned the United States. He mentioned so many countries, their population size, and the voting size. In terms of percentage, none of them goes beyond 50%. In Ghana here, our voting population is over 50%, almost 60% of the total population. How come? You must be 18 before you vote. You understand me?
Yeah.
And normally, those below 18 are also very large in terms of a census and all that.
But is this statement coming because of it's a normal thing that happens, or it's based on statistics that looking at the total population or the census, the 2010 population census, we have 25,000 people, but
25
million people, but this percentage of it is
too huge
the 18
compared to the normal.
and all of that.
Yes.
Is it because it's a normal thing that happens everywhere, or he's basing
Ours
it
is
on
abnormal.
statistics?
Yes, if you look at the normal statistics that happens in most countries, ours is abnormal. Getting over 60% forming the voting population is abnormal. It deviates from the other statistics that we have for various countries. That is why he's calling for it. And I am basing my argument on the fact that Afarijan himself in Parliament said this. That was our last but one sitting. He was called to Parliament, and he alluded to that. And that it is a continuous process. They are always doing it. Anytime they find anything abnormal in the register, they take it out. And so if Nana Addo is calling for a rigorous exercise on that score, I don't think he's only asking Afarijan to probably speed up that process and make sure that the register we have is cleaned.
Honorable Ibrahim, before I went on the break, I was making the point that even the 2008 election hearing recommended for electoral reforms. Couldn't it be that this is part of the electoral reforms they're talking about?
2012.
Replacing
Yes,
the voters register after every election is basically not convincing. And if you listen to the argument that Nadu put up, he said considering the population size and the voters register, then one can conclude by saying that it is over-bloated. My brother is also mentioned that Afarijan made mention of registration of minors. What is the guarantee that if you have to replace the current voters register, and then Ghanaians should go into the re-registration again, minors are not going to be registered?
But that's up to the Electoral Commission to ensure that it doesn't happen.
That is where the challenge is coming. The Electoral Commission did not register minors, and they were
But we're all in this country. We also we heard reports of people coming in, and some people were even arrested.
And what happened?
That time.
Those who were
But
arrested, the law took its own course.
Can't it be that some
My
of
brother
them
will
got away
confirm
with
that
it?
the law took its own course. Whenever, every party was represented at the registration centers. There was a challenge for when a minor was to be registered and you disagreed.
Okay.
And those processes all took place. So if at the end of it, if you have to register again, it's the same process we are going to go through. Clearly speaking, the mere fact that Afarijan said that minors were registered and the politicians should warn themselves for doing such a thing does not mean that the voters register is over-bloated. It is not logical for you to say that if minors are registered, then the voters register is over-bloated.
But is it
we
too
basically
much?
have a problem in Ghana.
Okay.
You raised a question before we went
On break.
that foreigners and some of the came
we
to
heard
register.
reports of that.
Now it comes back to the basic question: who is a Ghanaian?
Okay.
And therefore, if you are to open the vote, a new voters register today, and to go and register, who is going to be there to say that this man is a Ghanaian and that man is not a Ghanaian? What identity do you have?
That is up to the Electoral Commission, not you and I.
That is why we went to court.
You know the Electoral Commission was taken to court.
I think
not to use even the National Health Insurance and not to use this kind of things.
That was illegal.
And apart from that, what national identity do you and I have as Ghanaians.
I think it brings us to the call for us to have a national identification card, so that it can supersede all other cards. But that's just by the way. It's
do
for
we
another
have it?
Day. It's a discussion for another
Clearly
day.
speaking, do we have it?
We don't have it.
We don't have it.
What
so
has
if
been
you
the
have
challenge? What has been the challenge?
My sister, you may open a new voters register today and even have 16 million voters registered.
But that is why the Electoral Commission is there. I think that the Electoral Commission should be up and going.
Are you saying that the Electoral Commission is failing?
To be able.
How can you conclude that the Electoral Commission is failing? We are giving too much blame to the Electoral Commission when you and I know the very foundations of the problem.
Yes, but
you cannot just conclude.
That notwithstanding, we have our foundations, but we should also make an impact. I think that's what. But is it too much to call for a voters register to be cleaned?
It calls for a new registration, and if you look at the cost that the nation incurred in 2010, when we were to move from the old system to this new system, my sister, and that is how come that it's like the amount of money, the Electoral Commission, the money that was given to him at the point had to come again for another reimbursement. Look at the current situation that we have. And considering the last polls that we had, I'm talking of the district assembly elections, you can imagine the way it went, how they were organized in phases. The current one that we are going to have in March 4th were supposed to have taken place last year. Because of funding challenges and all those, we couldn't have it. Now, the Electoral Commission timetable and all those things are choked. So if you have to replace a new voter, it's not just going to be material cost or financial cost. It is going to affect even the main election that we are going to have in 2016. That aside, the argument is that the voter register is overbloated. What statistical evidence or what logical evidence do we have to confirm that the voters register is overbloated? I'm saying that the argument Anadu put up by saying that comparing the people on the voters register to those who came to register in the population census, I said that that one is illogical. Illogical in the sense that political awareness was very high. Politicians, my brother and myself, my brother knew that he was going to contest the 2012 elections. And because of that, he did not take it as an event. He started as a process, sensitizing people to go and register, organizing his party members, organizing his party structures, making sure that he has agents in all those things, going house to house, room to room, calling on his party members to go and register. Is that what we did in the population census? No. Even some Ghanaians, some people were running away, that they were going to register them just to collect their taxes and all those things from them. Those things still exist. So the sensitization that followed the political event did not follow the national event. And there are clear disparities.
Okay,
so if you compare the two,
that goes
you
to
may
say
not
that probably the ECG did not do its job well.
There.
Yes. You're talking about sensitization, isn't it? The ECG has a duty also. Electoral Commission has a duty to sensitize the people and even show them what to do and what not to do. And so if you're talking about not sensitizing the people, then EC also has a duty.
That's rather condemning the national population census. That is when he's saying that.
We'll come back to the national population census, but let's look at the EC as a body that is supposed to conduct this whole exercise. And we're looking at how the people were not sensitized. I know the NCCE has a duty has a duty in this whole exercise, but the EC itself, has the EC lived up to expectations when we're talking about this kind of document?
I think you are getting it wrong. You should rather be commending the EC for having a very well sensitized voters registration exercise.
Then why was it bloated?
That's why I said that you cannot say it was overbloated. If the national population census was properly done, then you would have gotten a national population figure more than the 25 million that Nadu is quoting. That is the argument I'm putting out. And he is saying that for the mere fact that the national population census did not go beyond 25 million, you cannot have 25 million and have 14 million voters. Right? That is Nadu's argument. And now saying that the sensitization that followed the electoral registration was very high. the political participation was very effective. And therefore, that one was very accurate. And that was done by the EC. But for the national population census, that is the foundation for Nanado's argument, there was a flaw. Simply because there was not effective participation, not effective sensitization, not effective registration or census material. There was shortage of census material. Some Ghanaians, you and I know very well that immediately after the process, many people claim that, oh, how did you conclude the national population census? Me, myself, I was not counted. He himself was not counted. We were counted anyway. But I'm saying that these were from the horse's own mouth. Those Ghanaians who were not registered under the national population census. So clearly speaking, as Ghanaians, you and I do agree that the national population census was not properly done.
So are you calling for, instead of cleaning our voters register, should we go for a new population census?
Correctly.
To have the figures right before we can even talk about the voters register being bloated?
I'm saying that for the voters register, I'm saying that it was properly done. And I've given you the processes that it went through. Myself, how I sensitized my people for the voters register was not how I did it for the national population census. Himself, he knows very well that he also did same. Almost all the political parties, and especially the two major ones. And my sister, you know when something is taking place in Ghana, and both NPP and NDC are into it, it becomes Accra House of Folk versus Kotoko match. Everybody, the entire field is full to capacity. Unlike when certain things are going to play, when people even don't.
When it's Black Stars versus Brazil.
Exactly, the entire field is packed. But when it is like some things and other things where nobody even.
So you're saying that
there was apathy.
So you're saying that even the document that Nanado is basing on to call for the cleaning of the voters register is not correct.
Correct.
And
that's
so
my
you want us to go for a new population census.
I agree.
Is that what you're saying?
Clearly speaking, and I concluded by saying that one happens in every 10 years.
Don't let me
so in 20.
We'll come to. So are you saying that we should condemn what we have now, even if it's not 10
clearly
years,
speaking,
or we should live with the mistakes till another 10 years before
mistakes
we clean
in
it
what?
With the population census?
Clearly speaking, the economists and all other things, they will be using the national population census figures for national planning and national development planning and all those things. But for the voters registration exercise and the voters register, that is the document we are going to use for the 2016 elections. And I'm saying that there is no problem with the voters register. If there's a problem, and you and I know, for Nanado, if Nanado was calling for the problems with the national population census, that one I would have agreed with him. But the one that was properly done, you are condemning that one.
That we rather need a new
let's
population
get the input of
census?
what he's saying. He's saying that the national population census is totally wrong.
It's wrong.
That's the first part.
That's exactly
we have said
what
that.
he's saying. Yes.
Okay, so how can we have a whole organization that leads us in collecting data for us to plan for the nation be wrong?
Yeah.
And then Nanado thinking that that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
Having that records with him, and then having the what do you call the registration records, comparing the two and saying that this cannot be. Statistically, it is wrong.
Okay.
Is Nanado wrong here?
I don't
because
think
Nanado cannot assume. Please, I sit here cannot assume that national population census is wrong or Ghana Statistical Department are totally wrong in whatever they do. When they churn out inflation figures and they will challenge them, sometimes they say, hey, it is the same organization that were giving you the figures when you were in power. And then you see the NDC gurus all going behind them.
Okay.
I will not sit here and say that they are wrong. Based on the figures that they have and based on the registration figures that we have, if you compare the two, there is no reconciliation. And that is the argument of Nanado. Nanado cannot be wrong here. He is saying that Nanado has no basis calling for that. Why is he saying that? But he has confirmed it by saying that for the voter registration process, it is correct because political parties did their best to whip all the people to come and register. Why should national population census be wrong? If national population census is wrong and he's saying that this one is right, then everything is wrong. The nation cannot be wrong in these figures. No. Besides that, I'm saying that he was in parliament, I was in parliament. We posed this question. And Afrajan himself has said it, black and white, over there, that yes, the cleaning process is a continuous process. Each time they find anything, they delete it. And so if the Nanado is calling for a complete exercise on that, setting out a certain period and some structures for us to do that so that the register voter this thing will become very clean. What is wrong with that? I don't think that he's wrong. You see, the last thing that he did, the last authentication that we did, there was a lot of apathy. Again, the political parties, those of us who are in opposition and who didn't have money, MPs in NPP were asked to go and sponsor all this. And we have been sponsoring almost all the programs. You understand me? You call people to go and check. Because they think that they have registered, well, there's another party and they are not doing it. Civil NCC has that onerous responsibility to go and be helping people to go and do those checking. But eventually it comes to we the political parties. And we the MPs have to sponsor all those things. Getting people to sit there to go and do it. But it wasn't an easy task. Questions were raised in Eastern region. Several constituencies raised various questions because the new registration that we did, we realized that when the authentication process came in, we took out the figures there, and there were serious disparities in the figures. And we challenged EC to correct them. As to whether they have been corrected or not, we don't know. In my constituency, I went ahead to check everything. There was a disparity of at least about 53 voters. The figure that we got and reconciled with our local EC there, when the final listing came, there were 53 names missing. You understand me? And then we wrote a petition for the EC to do it. As to whether it has been corrected or not, I cannot tell as I sit here now. And this is some of the things that we have put together to saying that we should clean the register. Make sure, how could we, every day we had our agents there, they registered, we took daily printouts. We added everything, 2008 and something. The authentication came, it was 2008 and something, it was reviewed to 2007 and something. And so we say, why this disparity? Go and check it out. This is cleaning. And that's what we are talking about.
But the 2012 election petition, like I said earlier,
yes,
recommended for reforms.
Yes.
Is it only cleaning of our register?
So many things. The form that we use in filling, they have started the process. Was it Monday? Monday, yes, they had a meeting on Monday. I know one of my big guys on it, Nana Sapmafo, is one of our representatives on it. So I had a meeting with him, and he called to say that, oh, he's forgotten. He has this electoral reforms meeting. And then on Saturday too, we're going to do something, and said Saturday to be a meeting. So he has cancelled most of the meetings that we're going to have. He's a Eastern Regional patron distance. So Eastern Region, we had our own. So he being on that committee realized that they had come out with a timetable. And so all the days where he has to be in that meeting, he has cancelled his meeting with us in the Eastern Region. So I know they have started something. The meeting started on Monday, and they're going to do it. I don't know what they're really going to look. But the court gave a number of issues that you have to look at. One key one that I remember is that the registration on that day, the record sheet should be simplified. Too much complexities on it, and if you don't have people who are very complex in their mind, they cannot fill it and understand and start writing this, blah, blah, blah. He said it should be simplified. There are so many of them. And so I think that the electoral reforms process has taken off. And it is being participated by all parties. And so I know they will do that. But cleaning the register is a continuous something that should be done.
But if the EC chairman himself has admitted that cleaning is a process that they normally go through, then why should the General Mosquito come to condemn someone who is calling for a cause that the EC chairman himself has accepted to do?
Listen carefully. I also ended up saying that the cleaning of the register is a continuous that began in 1992. That is not what Nanadu is asking for. Okay. Nanadu is saying according to the people you give.
But how different will it be from the normal?
The NPP flag bearer said that for a credible election to be held in 2016, the voters' register must be changed.
Okay.
That is different from cleaning the register. Cleaning the register happened just recently.
That is authentication.
Before the 2016 elections, it is going to happen again. That is a different thing. Nobody is against that one. But I'm saying that the argument being put by Nanadu and the exercises that my brother mentioned, that all the MPs, NPP MPs, were shipped by their party to go and sponsor the process, the electoral processes and all those things, registration, authentication, verification, and all those kind of things. So if that thing happened, is that what they did in the national population census? That is the argument I'm putting up. So if you compare,
we have no role.
Exactly. So if you compare, there was apathy in the national population census, and the entire citizenry in Ghana knows very well that the national population census was not properly done.
Okay.
But for the national
he's condemning it.
So
I started my argument by condemning.
Are you condemning the Ghana Service for being incompetent in what they do?
My sister, you don't have to ask me this question. It's obvious. The national population census,
So your single taking inflation and everything were also wrongly done.
My brother, you should know. This thing, you know it. It is not something for you to come and sit here and say that
no, confirm it.
You were in Ghana.
Baumia was saying that you were condemning Baumia, insulting him.
Baumia was not talking of the national population census.
You mentioned about
was talking about
inflation and other things.
All those things.
Yes.
And we said that from day one, even the identity of Ghanaians, you yourself, your identity, your consistency, if they ask you how many Ghanaians are you may not even be able to say it. We have a national challenge. There is something fundamentally wrong, and you and I agree with that. But as for something that was properly done, you don't condemn something that was properly done simply because somebody didn't do his job well. Then you go and be accusing somebody who did his job very well. That was the argument I'm putting up. And you were in this country, registration officers will talk of shortage of registration papers. Census officials were complaining that we don't have papers to go and register people. You and I are in this country, we knew all this. So how do we come and sit here and pretend that all those processes that we went through, we come and sit here and pretend that it was correct?
Looking at the situation in which
the biometric machines, the first time we used them was also a problem. We should understand that, and we should get that straight. The biometric machines gave us a lot of problems. Now we're using that. Some of the machines, when kept after they are rebooted, loses all its data. There are several things that have been said. And so if you are saying that Nado is asking for a complete change of the registration, probably it's looking at how did we do it. If it is the biometric machines that we are finding fault with, can we you see, this thing is a serious issue because the roots of all wars in most countries come from this. Elections. So if it's asking for a complete change, well, of course.
But looking at the economic situation we find ourselves, do we have enough resources to do a change?
But we have enough resources to give to people to just go under and misuse in this country. Give people loans, GIDA and everything. We have enough resources to give to that.
Should we clean or should we change? Looking at our situation right now.
Argument.
Look. Cleaning and changing could be the same.
Well, I think one will incur more costs than the other.
How many weeks do we use in doing new registration? The first time they give us some 10 days. Well, this time, because the biometric machines were not enough, they did 10 days here, 10 days here, 10 days here. Invariably, should have supposed to be, if the machines were enough, and we had one machine per electoral area registering, it should have all been just 10 days. That is less than 2 weeks. If we put ourselves and say that we want to do it for 1 month,
we can.
We can. And we can find the resources to do it. Getting one machine per electoral area. Or let's say give ourselves about 15 to 20 continuous clear days for the person to sit there. This registration could be done once and to be clean forever.
Well, I think no matter what the which side of the coin we look at, we still need electoral reforms. No two ways about it. And maybe the EC should consider this kind of call by Nanado.
What the EC is doing is what my brother is confirming.
If you don't have the resources, let us know. We can look at how to get the resources. But to condemn it, I think is not fair. It's not fair.
No. You see, one thing is.
Well, I think I would have to jump over from this topic because if I continue with this topic, I can see that
calling for a change in the voters register. It's a
there will be some blows in the studio if I continue with this topic.